How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And you know what time it is. It is time for the joke of the day. If you're new to this channel, we do this 5 days out of the work week. Maybe you had a long, maybe you had a stressful day, or maybe it was the market conditions. Well, you came to watch this video, plus hear one of my corny jokes. Here it comes. What do you call a frozen dog? A popsicle. Not too bad. So what we're going to be talking about today is OCGN, which ended up having a green day inside of the market. I won't take up any more of your time. I know it is Friday, so let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you are a shareholder or you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing that we're going to be going over are the highlights. We know they had their earnings call today, so we're going to go over some things very quickly. And then secondly, we're going to be taking a look, doing the technical analysis, taking a look at the overall price action, support, resistance, and what we want to look forward to going into next week. And then afterwards, we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at recent institutional ownership and as well as the short interest. There have been a good amount of changes and I can't wait to share it with you guys. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution, where institutions loading up on shares today through the large scale orders. We're about to find out. And then when all of that is done, we'll be jumping into the final thoughts. So let's get to it. Now we're going to be taking a look at a quick look of the ocugen Q2 highlight. Health Canada regulatory review process is underway. We already know they're going for emergency use authorization in Canada. So just taking that into consideration, we know that takes a lot of capital up front. And the fact that they've said, hey, you know what, we are actually moving forward with the agenda is something that is good to hear, especially for shareholders and investors. It also tells us they did do a lot of cash raising and they're actually putting that cash to use. So it was great getting an update on that. And then secondly, US FDA talks continue. So keeping up the constant communication with the FDA is very key, since they were told to pursue the BLA. So with that said, I'm going to be looking forward to seeing an update in regards to how's the FDA going to be handling this. Are they going to still tell Ocugen as well as Bharat Biotech that trials need to be conducted on US soil, or will they be able to say, you know what, we'll give you a pass. You already have all of the studies that have been submitted. We need to really figure out where it's going to be going from there, and that's where we really do need to get an update from. But the good thing is they're keeping up constant communication. And then OCU400 on track to move into 2 parallel phase 1/2A trials. So this is actually the core business behind Ocugen. They're coming up with gene therapies to cure blindness. So with that said, it's great to see they're still continuing with operations on that front, and they're seeing success, and they're also bringing on timelines as well. So making advancements and keeping shareholders in the know is great, especially since covaxin has definitely taken up a lot of their attention and they've been committing a lot of capital towards actually launching it. And then for the last point, entry into the Russell 2000 and 3000 indices. So we talked about that as well on the channel. This was great, giving them institutional exposure. So having more institutions and more firms wanting to buy in Ocugen stock. And that's part of the reasons why we see a lot of strength in the overall price. Remember, it wasn't too long ago, like about a year ago, that this stock was trading at around 25 cents, and seeing where it's at right now, it has definitely come a long way. So these are some things that are great to actually appreciate. But with that earnings call and taking everything in when I was taking a look at it, I liked it. I really had no problems. I really had no issues. And I love the fact that Shanky didn't go out and say, well, you know what, here's a timeline for this in regards to covaxin, to be exact, where he's just like, well, you know what, we should hear something in a couple weeks or in a couple days or a month from now. Because I know he did that on the last earnings call and it was not received too well whatsoever by the market. So I like that he handled it very well for today. And it's good to see, as far as for the stock price is concerned, it also reflected that. So now let's jump into the technical analysis. So we're going to be doing a technical analysis for OCGN. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $7.86, being up 4.94%. On the low, it tested $7.19, and then on the high, testing $8.35. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see here we traded at 30.25 million shares. And as far as for the average volume over 10 trading days, it was at 14.391 million shares. So we more than doubled our average volume over 10 trading days today. When we take a look at the RSI down below, you can see here it's right around 58.61. So that's right, we are in the overbought territory because we are seeing some momentum. When we take a look at the indicators on our chart, we have strength above the 200-day. We are below the 100-day, but look at this. Yes, we are sitting on top of the 21-day EMA. We did test above the 100-day today, but of course we ended up seeing some selling pressure here as we got to $8.35. But one thing to do keep in mind of the fact going into next week, since we know this is a clear area of resistance, we're looking to actually get past it. And as you can see, we had a little bit of a gap here and we kind of filled that before in the past, but I definitely do believe if we end up making this move going towards 860, we can easily get to the $9 range very quickly. So that's just one thing to keep an eye on. If we end up having that volume and there's a lot of that buying pressure, and of course we should be getting some sort of an update in regards to next week in regards to who. So with all of that said, hey, things can look really good. Even if we don't get that update, I can see a lot of FOMO kicking in here as well. If we do decide to pull back though, of course I want to see us being above the 21-day EMA at $7.18. We tested $7.19 on the day, and we ended up having some strength and then also seeing the stock price actually move up. So that's what I'm going to be looking forward to. Let's see how it performs next week. Recent institutional ownership and as well as the short interest information for OCGN. So as we scroll down on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So we can see a lot of activity in regards to August the 6th. So we have Swiss National Bank that purchased over 400,000 shares. We also do have Lincoln Variable Insurance Products that purchased 177,000 shares, just a little bit over that. We also have Emeritus Investment Partners purchased just over 14,000. We have Vauntable Holdings that purchased just over 500,000 shares. And also on top of that, we have Wolverine Trading that purchased just over 29,538 shares. And of course, they got some puts and as well as they got some calls. You know already, they're already hedging. That's all what that's all about. So as we take a look at the short interest information for OCGN, you can see the short shares availability is at 450,000 updated 5 minutes ago. And as far as for the short ball free rate, it is at 8.57%. We scroll down further and see the history of the short volume ratio. For the August 5th close, it was at 44.66. And the day before that, it was at 45.65. And on the 3rd, it was at 53.20. So as far as how it's looking going into next week, continue to keep an eye on it because even though the short volume ratio is coming down, OCGN still continues to have short squeeze potential. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for OCGN. So we can see here on the inflow, it was at 57.93, and on the outflow, it was at 53.86, and keep in mind, this is in the millions. So on the large side, it was 2.11. On the medium, it was 39.28, and then on the small, it was 16.54. On the outflow side on the large, it was 4.48, and on the medium, it was 34.93, and as well as for the small, it was at 14.45. When we take a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see here for August the 6th today ended up being a big time outflow day. We also saw this on the 4th and as well as the 2nd, but we did have inflows on the 5th and as well as the 3rd. So we do see institutions are still continuing to trade inside of OCGN stock, and we could see this from the large scale orders. Yes, we did end up having an outflow day, but we still had a lot of large scale orders in comparison to that. So that's one thing to tell you as far as going into next week. Hey, hey, we could definitely look forward to seeing a further spike. Institutions are buying in, they are holding shares, and many are holding shares as well due to the anticipation of, hey, we want to look forward to seeing that WHO listing. But anyways, let's jump into the final thoughts and I'll give you guys the rest in more details. So for my final thoughts for OCGN, I'm definitely looking forward to going into next week. I want to see what the price action is going to be looking like, especially since there's going to be a lot of anticipation and a lot of FOMO because everyone knows about that WHO and that EUL deadline. We're looking forward to getting that update. Another thing, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the institutional ownership, we see institutions are loading up on OCGN shares. So that is really good to see and does give us a bullish outlook. And for as far as for the short interest, it still continues to have short squeeze potential. Of course, this is of no surprise whatsoever because this has been the case for quite some time. And when we end up having above average volume coming into the stock, especially from what we saw yesterday and continuing, of course, we're going to end up seeing some strength in the overall stock price. So for anyone who's inside of this play, and many are telling me, so when should I start protecting my profits? You need to figure out what is right for you. Everyone's going to have different price targets. So as far as for yourself, you need to figure out what percentage gain you're looking for and what your cost basis actually is. Because I know many of you might have gotten in at a different price. So taking that all together, I want you to use that and formulate a strategy and figure out the answer that'll be right for you. And that's part of the reasons why I just don't want to give you a blanket approach and say, well, you need to be taking profits at this time and so forth. Like I said, many people watch this video and many people are in different situations. And also there's many who also have different outlooks. You have people who have short-term outlooks, medium-term outlooks, and as well as long-term outlooks. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and we'll be talking real soon.